Welcome to Tagged Beyond the Award, the podcast that celebrates innovation, excellence, and leadership. Each episode dives into inspiring stories behind the nominees and winners of the TAG Awards, uncovering the breakthroughs, challenges, and triumphs that define their journey. Whether it's cutting-edge technology, transformative products, or visionary leadership, we're here to explore what it means to stand out and shape the future of your industry. Let's go beyond the award and into the heart of innovation. Here's your host, Justin Starbird.
Welcome back to Tagged Beyond the Award. My name is Justin Starbird, and today's exciting. I get to welcome back, well, I feel like I say this about all my judges so far, or all of our judges so far, but good friend, MaryBeth Privitera. MaryBeth, great to see you.
Great to see you, Justin. I'm excited to be here and excited to support TAG Awards.
Yeah, well, it is pretty exciting to have you on. I'm thrilled to get to introduce you as human factors expert. You are, have a specialty in this space with a foot in industry and a foot in academia. And what does that actually mean?
Well, that means that I work in both. I'm currently a professor of biomedical engineering at the University of Cincinnati and help run the medical device innovation program there. And it gives me full access to the hospital system where I can ask really dumb questions to a lot of really, really smart people over at the hospital so that we can learn a little bit more about how medical devices are used in complex situations. And then my other foot sits square in industry as co-chair of the AAMI Human Engineering Committee. And then I work for SentiAR as their principal of design and human factors. So I've always had a foot in human factors and worked as a consultant for many years, which is how we met many moons ago. So that's what that means.
Yeah, no kidding. And now you are a judge for the TAG Awards, and get to share that expertise. You've been in the space for a long time, judging other awards for sure. And, you are, you sit squarely at the forefront of innovation, both in industry with the companies that you consult with and also with the academia that you support. What do you see on a day-to-day basis?
Well, on a day-to-day basis, I see, sorry about my dogs if you can hear them, but I see there's a lot of innovation happening around. It's interesting because I think the hospitals have a strong desire to work with medical device companies. The clinicians do. Now, admittedly, some of them do not, but I think that there's a strong desire around innovation, around being a MedTech hub, around getting new devices that you can get a little bit more bang for your buck. A little bit more sustaining engineering is happening in the industry as well. So I think it's a ripe opportunity for MedTech innovation. And I see it both in the classroom. I see a lot of creative problem solving of the research teams, the academic clinicians that I work with, coming up with new and novel things, as well as the industry really pushing new technology forward.
Yeah. Have you noticed, a change from when you got started to today in terms of, I feel fortunate to be able to ask you this in two ways, but, first on the academic side, how has the curriculum changed as you're trying to help your students, become more entrepreneurial or to see things different? What is unique today that you didn't expect maybe when you got started?
Well, I appreciate that question in two different genres, given the academic world versus the industry world. The reality is that the students that are coming into biomedical engineering today are raised with technology on the forefront. So in terms of their mechanical aptitude, I think that's the biggest change in their curriculum. They tend to have to learn some things where they're putting things together, and that basic physics becomes super important. And that understanding of how things go together, how things are mass produced, that becomes increasingly important. And then I think just sort of as a natural transition, there's been a lot of change in how we go about our business and industry. So how, especially in the world of human factors, it really wasn't until 2007 that human factors became on the radar, on the map. And then that progressed to FDA, really honing down in 2016. And now we've got clear clear differences of approach and methodology when you're talking about a combination product versus a medical device in regards to human factors. That's coming more and more to the forefront. So I think we have to be smarter and think through things a little bit more on the design side. So you can't just willy-nilly something together, which I wouldn't suggest that we did before. We always have to take a risk-based approach. But that poses that significant challenge for innovation where people have advanced technology that enables them to do something, but how you humanize that technology is really important in the overall success of a product.
Sure. Thinking about that, and how the device is approached in terms of its inception, are the expectations different today than they were even 10 years ago in terms of what the end user expects, or and then to further that, is the expectation different that the students are starting off further ahead than they ever have before?
Well, I think from the industry perspective, in regards to expectations, I think that they're looking more from the perspective of it needs to be an extension of my person and enable me to do something clinical, achieve my clinical goal easier and faster rather than slower and more cumbersome. So if you think about advanced technology, I work on augmented reality, which has a headset. And you can look at the population of women that go into that. And women, just like I do, they have a ponytail, and a headset physically kind of gets in the way of a ponytail, which can block some usability issues. I had the opportunity to interview anesthesiologists and clinicians in the UK to try to understand what's their perspective on what good design is. And it was really down to a few key principles where it enables me to do my job. It just keeps to the clinical task. And it's really clean and simple. So I know what steps come next. I don't want to kludge a bunch of things together. And I think that we've been getting to that point, but ever increasingly we're impatient, and we're impatient when things are complex and overly complex and overly systemified, where there's so many systems around using a product or a device that it becomes harder to actually use that device. And then do I think that students are, starting off more advanced? I don't think so. I think there's the AI, and you can lean into AI, or people have a tendency to shy away from AI. I think AI is still out there to be as a tool in design. I know that there are a lot of AI applications and machine learning products that are coming out that have some special regulations around them and special guidances in terms of transparency. So I think that that we're starting off in a complex situation on the get-go, just on how we practice medicine, and it takes a lot of consideration, a lot of considerate thought going into new innovative products to be successful.
Yeah, I totally agree. Is that something that when you're thinking about unboxing a product, or at what point is that you're looking at something being really intuitive or following a system? Do you have to pick or choose which one you do?
I think the key word that you said there is intuitive, but that inherently is problematic, in that intuitive for who, by whom. And if you're talking about a product that is aimed at a consumer market, over the counter, which a lot of devices are aimed at over the counter, that intuitiveness, we've got to go with a great amount of diversity there, where we're thinking about different physical limitations, different cognitive abilities, different thinking styles, and different expectations. It just requires a little bit more research and a little bit more effort put into it. So the devil's always in the details.
Absolutely. Well, we see that on the awards too, right? In terms of a nomination and being recognized for work. When you think about joining the TAG Awards, and what are you most looking forward to seeing for nominations, or how the entries are structured?
Yeah. I'm always interested in learning about what other people are doing and how they're promoting it, and how that improves clinical care. I think that there's some really amazing technologies out there. So really interested in technologies that make our life better, or that are make technology a little bit more accessible. So I know a few years back I was a judge for the IDSA, IDEA awards, and I was really impressed by a product that took hearing aids and made it for an over-the-counter application where, if I just had some limited hearing loss, but I wasn't quite ready for a prescription hearing aid, then it just enhanced my life. So things can be as simple as it's just life enhancing and important to something that is critical and life-saving as well. So I'm excited to learn about what people are doing.
Absolutely. Well, we are too. There's no doubt about that. What are you looking for in a nomination? What kind of elements help set an entry apart from others? What kind of communication are you looking for, to understand, what a product is capable of doing?
Sure. I think the first and foremost is just clear design innovation. So just clear, this is a novel new product. It has a very clearly communicated benefit to the user, and the user might be a clinician. The user might be a physician, but the user could also be a patient. And there's a clear benefit. There's a clear business story. So, a lot of times you could have an amazing business process and the product might not be that glamorous, but the business case and the business situation is novel and unique. I think there could be a benefit to society at large, a benefit to sort of the greening, if you will, the sustainable elements within the practice of medicine and the medical device world. So, if there's something that helps us be a little bit more environmentally friendly, that's always a good thing. And every design competition has a little bit of a beauty contest as well. So I would be remiss to my industrial design blood that's through these veins if I didn't mention design aesthetics. So, some things that there is aesthetic beauty in order. So I think that, in order to really be award winning, you kind of have a touch on all of these elements. And I really say the business practice and the sustainability issues, because I think that's something that needs to be in our core elements for excellence.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I think, one of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing from the judges is your feedback and, how that feedback impacts the companies and, products, devices, teams, and people that are entering those nominations. What sort of things, from your perspective on the other side, where you've entered into a number of awards, what does that feedback from a judge do? How does that help you, close the loop in terms of, producing a new product?
Sure. Well, that feedback, I mean, with any kind of feedback, first and foremost, you have to be open to it. And I think that that's one of the things that can be unique about an award-winning program, is to provide that feedback back, because that's where you can see your strengths and your weaknesses, but also how you stack up in terms of your overall communication, your overall package of how you're marketing your product, as well as, just overall soundness. Sometimes you can't, like I mentioned, sustainability, and sometimes that's hard. Sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes that's actually counter to keeping people safe. And so, the feedback can help you build those arguments where, if I didn't do something, why didn't I do those situations? And maybe it was more or less appropriate depending upon the context and of that particular product.
You've led a number of companies, either on the design front, on the human factors front. You've been involved in, launches and seen products, go from concept to commercialization a number of times. Talking about the value of an award as it differentiates itself in the marketplace. What has that done for the companies that you've worked with?
Well, it's certainly brought recognition to their just to their very presence. I think that, alongside with clearly their approval for marketing the product, it just says that that it's been reviewed, that it has some, good power around it, that as a valid, solid design that users can expect a certain level of usability, a certain level of overall solidness when they are thinking about the concept and the product in and of itself, rather than thinking of it as, just something superfluous. They can really get to that excellent, and expect that there would be something good that was behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. Does that help in terms of the commercialization side and help with sales, et cetera?
I'm not entirely sure I can't say because I've never been involved with the sales of how much it improves sales, but I know that it impacts the overall impression, the funding level that a startup would be looking for. It would definitely be critical in that way. And I think that internally for large organizations, it's a recognition that this product development team has done excellent work. And so that is, I think, a huge kudos, because when you're living within a broader product development organization, getting external accolades, I think, can really set you apart in your career and really help advance those people's career.
Yeah. Well, actually, so speaking about the team, I find that that's something that's, it's been brought up a couple of times from some of our other judges so far about, how it galvanizes the team or pulls them together and, gives them recognition both internally and externally, and also a moment of pause so that you're not
Yeah.
like just on to the next. What has that
Yeah.
done for the teams that you've led?
Oh, well, there's always a great celebration that goes along with that. I think that's absolutely accurate. I think that it rallies people around, and it sets you apart, right? So if you're, again, smaller or large organization and you've won an award, your design, your work, it just says that you are capable of doing really wonderful, great things to make a difference in the world. And I think that's it's kind of the goal of anyone that goes into biomedical engineering or product development in particular, is that they want to make the world a better place. They want to make it easier for us. And the reality is that eventually we're all going to be a patient someday. So if I can make it easier for that doctor to make the right decision on when they're working on my body, I'm 100% in.
I think we all are. That's and thankful for the work that you do in that respect, because if we want to have that as a consumer or patient, want to make sure that there's confidence in the folks doing that work. So that it's really neat to hear your perspective on that. And to go further, when you think about, you've touched on a little bit with some of the innovations that are out there today. Are you seeing, major trends changing because of, say, artificial intelligence or machine learning, or, has that made a huge impact on the human factor studies that you're conducting, or are you taking all that data now and using it differently?
I wouldn't say that the technology has changed on the human factors process and our methods in particular. I would say that it has, the in terms of the end of our process, the subtle nuances of how you have to execute a validation or summative study has really come to the forefront of scrutiny within the FDA.
Yeah.
And then I think that there's also a push on the CEDAR side, on the pharmaceutical side. There's a big push to get generic and further platform devices that can have multiple drugs in it, and to get generic applications. So working through comparative use human factors, that's another trend, not necessarily a sexy technology trend, but that definitely is in the forefront of a trend that's happening in the industry. And then I can see there's a difference. There's a broader difference between devices and the combination product world, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It just is what it is. And I think that the AI part of it There is some things in there that can really help patients take better care of themselves. So health literacy continues to be a problem, and as well as just general literacy, but health literacy in particular is a problem. So if we can use AI to help generate better solutions for those people, I think that's going to be a growing trend.
What are some of the biggest, so we talk about opportunities and, some optimism. What about challenges? Do you see any challenges in the industry right now, or obstacles that are facing, devices coming to market, or, entrepreneurs, commercializing a device?
Yeah, I think some of the challenges if you look at the business trends, I think the business trends tend to be that there are companies that are larger getting bought by bigger companies. So bigger companies are buying bigger companies, not necessarily the smaller companies. So, you really need to have the innovation go to approval and have some sales and have some just have some revenue and some generation behind it before they're purchased. And I think that tag awards can help out in particular at companies with that in that situation. I think that the other challenges, I know that it is a challenge for us to do research in the hospital system. That is a challenge for us to do. They are busy people. They really don't quite understand why we are there, and what we're doing in terms of helping product development out, which is understandable. And no one really wants to have somebody, shoulder burn while they're trying to do their job.
Right.
So I think, that's been an ongoing challenge. It hasn't changed. COVID didn't make that better. COVID made that worse. At the same time, COVID made meetings like this and remote working something that is normal, and almost expected, which means that you can kind of be anywhere and everywhere. But so there's some good and bad in there, but that certainly remains a challenge.
Yeah. Where do you see, the best companies overcoming those obstacles? Is it because of their leadership? Is it because of their, culture? Is it because of their structure? What helps a company be more successful in this space?
I think culture, 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 culture. I think if you have a culture where you're really working together as a team and you have that trust, you're having fun while you're doing it, and you can, you don't have anyone undermining a decision. You're really all in, and you can ask for help, and you can say, your design innovation is working alongside your regulatory people. The regulatory person is not so risk adverse that they are looking and shying away from innovation. So I think, the culture about being creative and solving the problems differently and allowing that creative process to happen. And also, I think another part of those successful cultures are the people are actually having fun.
Yeah.
They're working hard and they're having fun. And so that I tell the students in biomedical engineering two things. I say that when you are uncomfortable and you don't know the answer, you're probably doing it right because you're being innovative. And there's no answer when you're innovative. You don't know the answer. You don't know which way you're going to go.
Yep.
And then I tell them that the only you will make 100% of the right decisions if you make the right decision for the patient 100% of the time. And with those sort of ethos, you really can build a nice culture. And if everyone is in on that culture, then I think that you can have things and have fun, but also impact lives in really amazing ways.
Yeah. Does leadership play a role in that in
Yes,
creating that culture?
absolutely.
Yeah. Have you worked, tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about, what's important from a leadership perspective to create that culture that allows innovation, that, I wouldn't say promotes mistakes, but, gives you an opportunity to learn from, the decisions that you make.
Sure. I think there's a balance of leadership and delegation with trust, that really makes a difference. So if you're delegating and you've got a lot of trust, that the people that you're delegating to are capable of doing the jobs that they've asked, and you're asking the people to do the jobs, you've got confidence as a leader that those people are going to be successful, and you set them up for success to look at what their challenges are, their barriers, and make sure that you're supporting them in a helpful way. So it's kind of twofold, that you hone in and know each other's expertise, that you can balance it out and build with each other. I think that the leaders that have most impacted my life and my career, the one thing that they've all had in common is that they have been both amazingly intelligent and have a great sense of humor. So those are the two things that I think are really important. I mean, we're talking about serious stuff most often off the time.
Saving people's lives and making
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's heavy. It can be heavy, and
Yeah.
that element of humor can just bring out some creative problem solving and some solutions, and also suggest that it's okay to laugh, it's okay to go to silly. And I think that if I take a look at risk analysis, and I made a presentation a few years back, is your risk analysis half empty or half full? You have to go to the giggle in order to say I've actually completed a risk analysis that is complete, because I've gone to the absolute ridiculousness. And so I think that there's room for it.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's one of the things that we're all hoping come out of the TAG Awards as well, is to hear those stories of innovation and hear about the late nights and obstacles that nearly prevented whatever it was from coming to market. So because I feel like that helps continue to fill our cups too, and
Yeah.
to keep going in the face of adversity.
Yeah. Very motivational.
Absolutely. Well, MaryBeth, I'm definitely looking forward to the next, TAG Awards for MedTech and having you on board. This has been really exciting.
It's exciting. Great. Good luck, Justin. I look forward to working with you.
Likewise. On behalf of my guest today, MaryBeth Privitera, you've been listening to Tagged Beyond the Award.
On behalf of our guest today and host Justin Starbird, thank you for listening to Tagged Beyond the Award. We hope you've been inspired by the stories of innovation and leadership shared today. Don't forget to subscribe and join us for more incredible journeys behind the breakthroughs. If you or someone you know is leading the way in innovation, visit tagawards.co to learn more about how to get involved. Until next time, stay driven, keep innovating, and keep reaching for excellence.